Well, the president may be onto something because this morning, Forbes launched their American Dream Index. It's designed to track on a state-by-state monthly basis whether the White House is truly making America great again and the dream accessible again. This on the heels of a new report that finds a whopping 93 of America's 100 fastest-growing counties of last year voted for Donald Trump in November. Here to discuss, Tammy, Bruce, and Mercedes Schlapp. Mercedes, I'll start with you. Just absolutely remarkable. Just so the audience understands, there are 7 indicators in this Forbes report. Goods-producing jobs, those are your mining and construction jobs, personal and commercial bankruptcies, building permits, startup activity, unemployment insurance, labor participation, and layoffs. I mean, this is it. This is the crux of what's wrong with America.
Right, and I think clearly it's what it's showing is the fact that when you put conservative principles, when you have limited government, when you have this opportunity where you create an environment, a business-friendly environment, that's where businesses are going to go. That's where industries are going to invest. And so I think it's where President Trump's message has resonated so clearly. It has been in these counties. It has been also in these states. And one of the things, Charles, that you find in these states is the fact that many of them are run by Republican governors. So I think it shows this disparity between the fact that when you have liberal policies in place, heavy taxes, the fact where businesses don't feel they can grow, it impacts these states and counties in a negative way. The reverse happens when you have these Republican governors in place, when you have the policies that President Trump wants to push forward.
You know, Tammy, yeah, I always say this. No matter what the economic scheme is, people have to believe. And I think, you know, there's a magic formula for getting people to believe, getting them to get off the sofa, hit the bricks, look for a job, reinvent themselves. And I think that's what's happening. And you cannot quantify it with any known government research report.
Yeah, certainly not from the government, but I love what Forbes is doing because it really, you know, the media and the left are going to always deny that anything's better, even though they did this through the campaigning as well. We know what was happening in our lives, and they want to tell us to not believe our lying eyes, right? Why this is so good is that you do have, as you noted, this is the core of what makes American lives fabulous, what makes America good, and if you have this dynamic coming from the business sector, looking at those elements, separate from politics, not a poll asking for feelings, but these are hard numbers. It really is going to reinforce what I believe, and clearly what many Americans believe, is going to be the success of Donald Trump, no matter what the media says.
Yeah, and of course we know that these the professional polls are not very friendly to Donald Trump right now, and we all have our problems with that. But I think goods producing last month, ADP said 106,000. The audience should know that that was the highest number in the history of ADP. Never had a single month going back to 1992, seeing 106,000. Wow. And Mercedes, again, this is the heartland. Forbes has a map, by the way, of the states that are doing very well. It looks very similar to the election map, doesn't it? Did you see that map?
I did see that map, and you're right. It did have the states that supported Trump. You know, there were some states that I found were actually surprising, which was, I think it was 46th place or 49th place is Kansas, which is you have a Republican governor in place. You know, you look at, for example, New York, which is, I think, at 41, which you're talking about very much government intervention in your life, high taxes. It's not a place where you would think businesses would want to go into that area. So I think what I like about this Forbes using these indicators is the fact that you are looking at it from, you know, the economic perspective, how it's going to impact the middle class. And what does this mean for businesses? And to that point, Charles, is the fact that when you look at consumer confidence at the highest that we've seen in 16 years, when you see the stock market where it is at this point, when you see CEOs and even small business owners feeling very confident because we're looking at deregulation, less taxes, the fact that Washington is moving in that direction, that really makes it for an optimistic approach or an optimistic way in terms of how they're viewing the economy. And I think that it does bring this positive sense not only to these states, but to these counties.
Yeah, let me just add very quickly that even now people are saying Donald Trump's administration's coming off the rails. The fact is, Americans are viewing that America's on the right track at double the rate than it was during the Barack Obama administration. That also has been consistent. We saw that move up the moment he was elected, and we're going to see that increase
And
again.
a warning to people who are down in the dumps about the election, if you stay that way, you know, you're going to dictate what your future is. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to miss out on these amazing opportunities. Now, one big question is, while we're on this subject of unity and optimism, the unthinkable actually happened just earlier today. A Democrat senator actually broke ranks and publicly complimented President Trump for his promise to get coal miners back to work. Watch this.
This is the first president in my time that I can remember that's come out and really acknowledged and thanked the hardworking men and women in the coal mines and coal mining communities that have done what they have done and contributed to this country. President Trump said, thank you for what you've done. I haven't forgotten you. I'm going to do everything I can to help you get back to work.
Of course, many are wondering if it's just too late to get that done. Tammy, Bruce, and Mercedes Schlapp are with us. I also want to bring in Chris Hamilton. Chris, you understand the coal mining industry as well as anyone. Last week there was an article that more or less suggested it's too late for the coal industry. You've gone from 174,000 jobs to 64,000 jobs, and production has peaked over 10 years ago, and there's no saving the coal industry. Chris, can you hear me? While we work on Chris.
Yeah,
Tammy.
absolutely. No, well, we disagree. We disagree with that assertion. We've been hit a heavy blow. We have lost half our jobs. A lot of our coal-producing counties here within the state of West Virginia and within the region have been hurt very severely. But we think we've plateaued. News like we received yesterday, based on the president's actions, renews a lot of optimism, a lot of confidence, and we think we're back on an upward plane here. There's no question about that.
You know, Tammy, there's also no question that we just had a chart up of those jobs. They were coming back.
Yes,
then they
exactly.
collapsed. They collapsed when President Obama put in those onerous regulations for utilities. He deliberately went after this industry, and he took a mighty toll on these folks.
Look, an assessment that this is over for the coal industry implies that this was a natural decline or a natural collapse. It was completely artificial. It was false. It was contrived, which means that this industry can come back, and it will, as long as its leadership doesn't fall for the lie that this was something that just can never return. That is a typical leftist attitude, though, like Barack Obama chiding Donald Trump when he said he was going to bring the carrier jobs back. It's like, what do you have, a magic wand? No. We have plans. We know how to do it because businessmen are now in charge. Mercedes,
coal is still the fastest growing source of energy around the world, and we've got more of it than anybody else.
That's right.
To me, those are two dots easy to connect.
Absolutely, and coal provides cheap electricity, and the fact is when President Obama's administration put these heavy regulations on the coal industry, it was incredibly destructive for these communities. Let it be a free market process. Obviously, you have natural gas, which is cheap. It's definitely one of the competitors for the coal industry. But you've got to let the market decide. And I think that that's what you're going to see. And I do believe you're going to still see a demand for coal, not only here in the United States, but there's a big demand abroad.